Welcome, everyone. Sorry, that was so loud. I didn't mean to yell at you. My name is Tom Taylor. I'm the Director of Music and Worship Ministries here at St. Paul's, and we're delighted to welcome you to this fabulous concert tonight. If you're here, you already know the reputation of Three Rivers Ringers. Many of you come back every year to this spot to hear them, and we are so grateful to Three Rivers Ringers Board and their director for bringing them back here every year. It's a wonderful way to celebrate Christmas, isn't it? They have a table out in the back once you're finished, and to see their CDs for sale. They recorded yesterday, as a matter of fact. That one's not for sale yet, but it will be soon. So I hope that tonight you can sit back and listen to the sounds of the season as presented by Three Rivers Ringers and Linda Boyce, their director. Will you welcome them, please?
Thank you all. Good evening. It's wonderful to be back here at St. Paul's UMC. This is a frequent venue for our ensemble, and we love being here with you. So, welcome to Seasons Ringings. We began our program with a fiery rendition of the Spanish carol, Fum Fum Fum. We move now to an energetic arrangement of the French Noel tune, Gloria, traditionally associated with the text, Angels We Have Heard on High. Like our opening number, this piece is driven by mallet work and quick-changing multiple meter. Choristers will likely recognize their voice parts in one of the most favorite Christmas carols to sing in 4-part harmony. The popularity of this carol stems from its refrain of cascading phrases in which voices imitate the angels' chorus. And a beautiful image is created. Shepherds in a great field staring in wonder at a sky full of heavenly hosts, singing out praise and joy, inspiring the shepherds to invite us to come to Bethlehem and see him whose birth the angels sing. This piece opens with a fanfare-like introduction, moves into its familiar melody, includes a more serene and contrasting section with many of our hand chimes, and concludes as energetically as the Shepherd's Jubilee. How fortunate we are as an organization to have access to quite a variety of ringing equipment. And we're very pleased to debut this season a portion of our newly acquired, historic, 3-octave set of bells from London's Whitechapel Bell Foundry. This 5 centuries-old foundry has sent tower bells around the world. In London alone, its handiwork tolls from Westminster Abbey, St. Paul's Cathedral, and the Palace at Westminster. It also helped create some of the most famous sounds of 18th century America, sending at least 27 bells to the colonies during that time. Handbell ringing began in England hundreds of years ago. Whitechapel handbells have been manufactured since the 1740s. Tuned in sets and fitted with leather straps, they quickly became popular among tower bell ringers, not only for practicing change ringing, but also for playing simple tunes. The art then of tune ringing continued to develop. Fast forward to the latter part of the 20th century, a revival in handbell ringing brings us all the way to our present day accessibility to major handbell manufacturers, compositions for handbell players of all levels of capability, and organizations which support and promote the art form locally, nationally, and globally. I'd like you to hear just a little bit of the variance in color with these instruments. Could we hear our modern Schulmerich bell, please? And now a Whitechapel. It's quite a different color. We also have, in our arsenal, we have hand chimes, quite a different sound. And can someone get to a silver melody?
No, right behind you.
Silver melody bell. Yeah, also quite different. And of course we have Miss Lisa at our bass chimes. Also a chime, but the malleted variety. So for our next piece, Sandra Ethan has woven together 2 tunes, Creator of the Stars of Night, which is a lovely plain song tune, and it works really well with these, with the Whitechapel set. And then the Do You Hear What I Hear tune is carried by the more modern Schulmerich bell, so you really get to hear the play between those 2 sounds and those 2 tunes. You weren't the first audience to be fooled by that big cadence, just so you know. The Little Drummer Boy was written by American composer Catherine Kennicott Davis in 1941, first published with the title Carol of the Drum. Speculation has been made that the song is very loosely based on a Czech carol or may have been inspired by the French Christmas carol, Pas de Pan. This song has been recorded by many high-profile artists over the years, including the Trapp Family, Johnny Cash, and Joan Baez, to name just a few. And who can forget that memorable collaboration between Bing Crosby and David Bowie? In this spirited and fanciful arrangement by Joel Rainey, we hear not one young boy with a single drum, but a professional musician and gentleman with an entire battery of percussion. Please welcome Mr. Rick Minotti. Unlike most Christmas carols about the nativity story, this one places emphasis on a different child. The lyrics of this song relate how, as a poor young boy, the little drummer was summoned by the Magi to the nativity of Jesus. Without a gift for the infant, he played his drum with approval from the Virgin Mother, recalling, "I played my best for him, and he smiled at me." Although there is no such percussion prodigy in the biblical account of Jesus' birth, a very obvious message is that even if an offering is humble, it's a blessing to be able to give your best. The drummer boy gave his best, not a material gift, but he gave himself as we can, with time and love and talents. A Christmas Eve party at the Stahlbaum house. A special gift to Clara from her godfather, Drosselmeyer. A fierce battle with a mouse king. Nutcracker turns into prince, and off we go through a snowy, enchanted forest to the land of sweets and a magic castle where Clara and the prince are greeted by the Sugar Plum Fairy. Tchaikovsky's famous Nutcracker ballet premiered in 1892 and has become a staple of ballet companies the world over at Christmas time. Three Rivers Ringers to date have performed numerous dance numbers from the ballet. For this season, we bring you Ron Mallory's arrangement of the Magic Castle. Arrangements of pre-existing pieces for handbells can be quite simple, as many ringers know, and they can also be quite intricate. It's one thing for an instrumentalist to create rapid passages and chromatics over a keyboard or a fretboard, strings, keys, valves, etc., with multiple fingers. It's quite something else to execute these passages as a team, with each note represented by a single bell, played in most cases by a single hand. Tchaikovsky most likely did not compose with handbells in mind. So let us transport you to that time and place where you've just settled back into your seat after intermission, and the music begins in preparation for the curtains to open for Act 2 of the Nutcracker. This time, I'd like to introduce our associate conductor for this season, Sarah Stecker.
Good evening. It is so great to be back here at St. Paul's. We have performed here many times, and so coming here is a little bit like coming home for us, especially at Christmas time. So we're so excited to be here today. Thank you for so far your engagement with our program. We've got a lot more good music for you tonight. Our next piece, A Night at the Manger. If you came to any of our winter concerts last winter, you may have heard this one. We did it on our winter program last year. And it is a gorgeous arrangement of the Coventry Carol. Now this is a carol. It is something we associate with Christmas. But I would like to talk a little bit about the context, because this is, in essence, a song of mourning. We are in the part of our Christmas story after Jesus has been born, and King Herod, feeling threatened by prophecies of a king who would come to rule over all the earth, orders the deaths of all of the young children in his kingdom. And so Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus have to flee. And so here is a little bit of the text that I think really evokes the feeling of this piece. O sisters too, how may we do for to preserve this day, this poor youngling for whom we sing, bye bye, Luli, Lule. Herod the king in his raging, charged he hath this day, his men of might in his own sight, all young children to slay. That woe is me, poor child, for thee, and ever mourn and may. For thy parting, neither say nor sing, bye bye, Luli, Lule. Huron Carol is perhaps more familiarly known as "'Twas in the Moon of Wintertime," which is the first line of text from the English translation of this carol. This carol was originally written in the 1600s by Jean de Brebeuf, who was a Jesuit missionary in Canada, being a missionary to the Huron-Wendat people. And he wrote this carol as part of his mission, and he wrote it originally in their native language. And it was only translated into the English text that we know in the 1900s. It is perhaps Canada's oldest Christmas carol. In stanza 3 of this English translation, we have some text that really evokes the feeling of the Canadian forest in wintertime. The earliest moon of wintertime is not so round and fair, as was the ring of glory on the helpless infant there. The chiefs from far before him knelt with gifts of fox and beaver pelt. Jesus, your king is born. Jesus is born. Enoch Chelsea's Gloria. This piece will feature some of our silver melody bells today, and we'll be also welcoming Rick back on some percussion. my last piece on the podium tonight, I will be leading the group through another Sandra Ethan piece. This one, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. We have performed earlier in the program her arrangement of Do You Hear What I Hear? And previously we have performed O Holy Night and other things that she has arranged as well. As we play this piece, I ask that you keep this text in your heads and in your hearts that I think is a great reminder for this Christmas season. All ye beneath life's crushing load, whose forms are bending low, who toil along the climbing way with painful steps and slow. Look now for glad and golden hours, come swiftly on the wing. O rest beside the weary road, and hear the angels sing. O rest beside the weary road, and hear the angels sing. The whole world send back the song, which now the angels sing. This arrangement brings a contrast into this hymn tune that I don't know that I've ever heard done before. We start very serene and go into a section that's much more energetic, and then come back to a restful state, as this stanza states. We will be being joined by Lisa again on some bass chimes. Thank you. I'll invite Linda back up to the podium for the rest of the program.
The son of an Episcopal minister, Alfred Burt was a young jazz musician who composed 15 now legendary Christmas carols between 1942 and 54. His father began a tradition of sending original Christmas carols as greeting cards to friends and family in the 20s. Alfred continued this tradition, going on to compose the 15 tunes that became known as the familiar Alfred Burt carols. With each Christmas since his early death at the age of 33, the carols reach a wider and more appreciative audience, gaining international acceptance among soloists, choirs, bands, and orchestras. There are endless recordings of caroling, the Nat King Cole rendition being one of the most familiar. A good deal less challenging, perhaps, than Tchaikovsky, the Burt carols transform almost intuitively into handbell arrangements. This is quite a contrast moving on here. Santa Baby is we've gone from wholesome to this. Santa Baby is a very cheeky and slinky song from the 50s. It's a familiar tongue-in-cheek look at a Christmas list to Santa, by a woman who wants some of the finer things in life. A sable, a convertible, a yacht, a platinum mine, checks, and just a few little things from Tiffany's. Originally released in 1953, it proved somewhat controversial as too suggestive, resulting in temporary bans of it in some states. It has since been included on lists of both the best and worst Christmas songs ever written. Santa Baby has been parodied, referenced, featured in various films and television series, and covered by many recording artists, originally by Eartha Kitt. More recently, Madonna, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Gwen Stefani, Trisha Yearwood, Kelly Clarkson, Michael Bublé, and Miss Piggy. This piece is scored for both handbells and hand chimes. Our bells deliver cheeky, and our chimes deliver slinky. Speaking of slinky, Miss Bobby, have you been a good girl this year?
The goodest.
The goodest, we'll see. this time, I'd like to introduce to you our Three Rivers Ringers Board President, Linda Minotti.
Good evening. We're so glad to be here. As it's mentioned before, we kind of think of this as our second home at Christmas time. It's so wonderful to see all of you here tonight. A few thank yous. I'd first like to thank Mount Lebanon United Methodist Church for use of bells, their tables, and some of their equipment and rehearsal space. Without that help, we could not do what we do. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Hal English and Associates, Rollier's Hardware in Mount Lebanon, and LDM Embroidery. I'd like to have a special thank you to Tom Taylor. Tom has been an ardent supporter of this program for many years, and we just want to send a special thank you to Tom. Thank you so much for all that you've done for us. Also, thank you to you, our donors. As they mentioned before about the Whitechapel bells, if it wasn't for you being our donors, we would not have been able to buy those Whitechapel bells. You know, dating from the 1860, these bells date from. So pretty historic. But, you know, there's also always needs for things. Right now, our tables are in need of major refurbishment. They're over 25 years old. We're going to have to take all of the foam off and re-foam all of the tables, recover them, and also put major supports underneath. As you can imagine, the bell tables get a little bit of use besides being put back and forth from the trailer, but also as beating on them all the time with mallets and bells. In fact, last night after rehearsal, I found screws that were coming out of the base bell table. So, yeah, not good. So we also need money for the gas for the trailer, for the truck to pull the trailer, and also for our insurance. So any bit you could give us would be highly appreciated. You'd find in your program there is an envelope, and you can place that envelope back in the back at our table. If you want, you can take that envelope home. There is an address on there. If you'd like to send a check in later, that would be great as well. We also have, in the back, some things to buy. We have our latest holiday CD, Earthshell Ring. And amongst other things, we also have Beth's handmade ornaments. So these things are available in the back at the merchandise table. So if you want to go back and check it out, they make great stocking stuffers. Again, our thanks to you for coming this evening. After the concert, if you feel comfortable, come up and talk to us. We love to talk about bells. We're kind of nerds like that. Maybe you want to see the Whitechapel bells up close, perhaps the Silver Melody bells, or just kind of take a look at the big boys. So come up and talk to us. We appreciate it. Again, thanks very much. We hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
We conclude this season's winter series with an arrangement of the 15th century French carol Noel Nouvelle. This tune has been used with many sets of lyrics, one familiar to us as the Easter story and Now the Green Blade Rises. Many other hymn texts are used with this tune, published in some 99 hymnals. At Christmas time, of course, we refer to the text, "Sing We Now of Christmas." The stanzas include several of the most important parts of Christ's birth: the rejoicing of heaven and earth by angels and shepherds, the journey of the Magi, and the fulfilling of prophecies. The lyrics tell an old story, but one translation begins simply, "Christmas comes anew." We recall this ancient story and celebrate this holiday each year anew, with a sense of hope anew, a spirit of joy anew, faith in humankind and deeper love and respect for each other anew. Soon came the kings from following the star, bearing costly gifts from eastern lands afar, brought to him gold and incense of great price. Then the stable bare resembled paradise. Christmas comes anew. Oh, let us sing and bring Noel. thank you for talking us into just one more. Never takes much convincing, however. As is often the case, St. Paul's UMC is typically the end of a concert series for this group, so I'm going to put my little script aside and just publicly thank the folks behind me. It sounds a little bit trite, but there's an awful lot more than meets the eye. These people wear many hats and not just the Christmassy kind. They manage and organize and plan and communicate and carry. If you want proof of that, you can stick around and watch this well-oiled machine load of one trailer with all of this. It's quite remarkable. So my thanks to them and so many people unseen too. Logistics folks, our board of directors, and from the bottom of my heart, this person who is our friend and mentor and started it all, and she does everything from musical critiquing to baking the best chocolate chip cookies. Nancy Lutz, please. Thank you again for being with us this evening. We hope you'll stick around and come down and visit and see some of our equipment and talk to the ringers. And on behalf of our whole organization, we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you.